The sun had just disappeared behind the hills, and the sky turned deep blue. The stars started to appear, one by one, like tiny eyes watching from above. Ravi sat outside his small house near the forest edge, fixing a broken solar light. He lived alone in a quiet mountain village where visitors were rare, and silence was common. The wind blew gently, carrying the scent of pine and fresh soil. He wiped his forehead and checked the wires once more. The light blinked for a second, then faded. Again, with a sigh, he reached for his small toolkit, but suddenly, something made him stop. A sound. It was not the usual forest sound of leaves or animals. It was soft and shaky, like someone crying. Ravi stood up and listened carefully. The sound came again, this time a little louder. It was not an animal. It sounded like a person. But who would be out here at this hour? The village path was empty, and no one ever came from the deeper forest, curious and a bit worried. He picked up his flashlight and walked toward the sound. As he moved deeper into the trees, the air became cooler. The crying became clearer. It was close now. He moved slowly, careful not to step on dry branches, and then he saw her. She was sitting on the ground near a fallen tree, her face hidden. In her hands, her long dark hair touched the leaves, and her body shook with quiet sobs. She wore a long, strange-looking cloth that shimmered under the moonlight. Her skin had a soft silver-blue glow, and her hands looked thin and delicate. Ravi stopped a few steps away. He had never seen anyone like her. She was not from his village, that was clear. But more than that, something felt different, something beyond normal. "Are you all right?" he asked. Keeping his voice soft, she looked up slowly. Her eyes were large and shining, like water under the stars. When she saw Ravi, she gasped and tried to move back, but her body was weak. She winced in pain and held her side. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," Ravi said and bent down. "You're hurt. Let me help you." The woman looked at him, her eyes filled with fear and sadness. She opened her mouth, but the words she spoke were strange, not from any language Ravi knew. Still, her tone said everything. She was scared, alone, and needed help. Ravi reached into his bag and pulled out a bottle of water. He opened it and offered it to her. She hesitated, then slowly took it. Her hands trembled as she drank. After a few sips, she looked at him again, this time with less fear. "Come," Ravi said, pointing toward his house. "You could rest there, safe." She didn't understand the words, but she seemed to understand his intention. With effort, she stood up. Ravi supported her as they walked back. Her body felt light, but every step seemed to bring her pain. She leaned on him, her breathing heavy, back at his house. Ravi helped her sit on the soft chair near the fire. He quickly brought a blanket and wrapped it around her. He placed the solar lamp on the table, giving the room a soft glow. The woman looked around, confused but calm. Ravi gave her some warm soup and bread. She tasted it slowly, as if unsure what it was. After eating a little, she placed her hand on her chest and said, "Alara." Ravi pointed to himself and said, "Ravi." She smiled faintly and nodded. Then her expression changed. She reached for a small round device tied to her belt. When she pressed it, a light floated in the air. A series of glowing images appeared. Ravi watched in shock as the images moved. They showed a beautiful planet with blue skies, tall trees, and bright buildings. People like Alara walked together, smiling. Then the scene changed. Ships appeared. In the sky, firing beams, explosions followed. Buildings fell. The peaceful faces turned to fear. Ravi's eyes widened. Alara pointed to one figure in the image. It was tall, covered in dark armor. With red glowing eyes, Ravi felt a chill. That figure looked powerful and dangerous. Then Alara pointed at the image again, then at herself, and then at Ravi. She spoke in her soft voice, repeating one word again and again. "Protector. Protector." Ravi was confused. What did she mean? Did she think he was someone important? He shook his head and looked at her. "I'm no protector," he said softly. But Alara only looked at him with hope in her eyes. She placed her hand over her heart, then gently touched his arm. Ravi felt the weight of her trust, and it made his heart heavy. The night grew colder outside, but inside the small house, something had changed. A strange woman from another world had come to him in pain, and now she was asking for help. Ravi did not know how or why this was happening, but he knew one thing for sure. He could not turn away. The next morning, the sky was covered with gray clouds, and a light wind moved through the trees. Ravi sat near the window, watching the quiet forest. Inside the small house, the air was calm, but his mind was not. He kept thinking about the strange woman who had arrived last night. Her name was Alara. She was not from Earth. Her glowing skin, silver eyes, and the moving pictures she showed had made that very clear. Alara was still resting. She had fallen asleep in the chair beside the fire after eating. Ravi had placed an extra blanket on her and stayed awake most of the night, checking if she was breathing fine. Now, as the light from the morning sun filled the room, she slowly opened her eyes. Ravi turned toward her. "Good morning," he said, not sure if she would understand. Alara blinked a few times and sat up slowly. She looked around, as if trying to remember where she was. Then her eyes met Ravi's, and she gave a tired but kind smile. Ravi brought her some warm tea. She took it carefully, warming her hands around the cup. They sat in silence for a while, even though they could not speak the same language. There was something soft and peaceful between them. Alara reached for the device on her belt again. She pressed a button, and glowing images floated in the air once more. This time, the pictures moved more slowly. They told a longer story. Ravi watched closely. The first image showed Alara standing with others of her kind. They looked happy and free. The next image showed a large city on a planet. The buildings were tall and smooth, shining like glass. Then came darkness. Ships with sharp edges appeared. From the sky, fire rained down. The people ran. Alara pointed at a tall figure again, the one in dark armor. He stood at the front of the enemy army. His face was hidden, but his red eyes shone with anger. Alara placed her hand over her heart, and her voice shook as she spoke. "Darnak," she said softly. Ravi looked at the image, then back at Alara. "Is that his name?" he asked. She nodded. Darnak. Ravi could feel her fear when she said that name. Darnak must be a powerful enemy. He had destroyed her home, her people. She was alone now, far from her world. She was hiding here on Earth. Elara changed the image again. This time it showed something strange, a round stone ring, like a portal. She pointed to it, then pointed to herself. The next image showed her stepping into the portal, and then arriving in a forest, the same forest near Ravi's village. So that's how she came to Earth. She escaped through some kind of portal. But the next part surprised Ravi the most. Alara pointed to the final image. It showed a small object pendant with a strange symbol on it. Ravi's heart jumped when he saw it. That symbol was the same as the one on his own pendant, a gift from his grandfather when he was young. He stood up quickly, walked to a small box on the shelf, and opened it. Inside was a silver pendant with a glowing stone in the middle. He brought it to Alara. Alara's eyes widened. She gently took the pendant and looked at it closely. Then she placed it next to her glowing device. The two items began to shine together, making soft light in the room. She looked at Ravi, eyes full of emotion. She placed the pendant in his hand, then pointed to his chest and said, "Protector." Ravi shook his head. No, I'm not a protector. I'm just a normal man." But Alara didn't stop. She kept pointing to the pendant, then to Ravi, and repeated the word, "Protector, key of light." Ravi looked down at the pendant. His grandfather used to tell him stories of stars and ancient travelers. He thought they were just bedtime tales. But now, something inside him started to believe. What if his grandfather knew something? What if the pendant was more than just a story? Alara stood slowly and moved to the table. She opened a small map drawn in glowing lines. It showed the Earth, with a red mark deep in the mountains near Ravi's village. She pointed to it. "What's there?" Ravi asked. She spoke slowly, choosing her words. "Beacon, old, hidden, warn others." Danger comes. Ravi understood what she meant. There was a hidden place, an old beacon, something left behind to send a message to other worlds. If they could reach it and turn it on, others might come to help. But why him? Why was the key passed to him? Ravi sat down again. His thoughts were heavy. He looked at Alara. She was still weak, her body still healing. Yet her eyes held hope, like she believed in him more than he believed in himself. He spoke softly. I don't know if I can help, but I won't let you face this alone. Alara gave a gentle nod. She seemed to understand. Suddenly, a strange noise came from outside. It was a low hum, followed by a sharp screech. Ravi stood quickly and moved to the door. In the sky above the trees, a small flying object moved fast. It had flashing lights and sharp wings. It circled once, then disappeared behind the hills. Ravi turned to Alara. She was already holding her device. Her face was pale. What is it? He asked. She looked up at him and said one word, Hunter. Ravi's hands tightened on the door frame. The flying object he had seen just moments ago had vanished behind the hills. But its strange sound still echoed in his ears. His heart beat faster. Not with fear for himself, but for Alara, the alien, woman who had come to him in pain and sadness. He turned toward her. Alara stood near the table, her body tense, her face pale. She clutched the small device tightly in both hands. You said it's a hunter, Ravi said slowly, trying to stay calm. What does it want? Alara looked at him, her voice quiet and full of worry. Hunter comes for me. Darnock sent it. It finds, it captures, it destroys. Ravi understood enough. Darnock had not stopped searching. He had sent a machine or something worse to follow Alara. And now, that thing had arrived on Earth. Alara sat down on the edge of the chair, her eyes lost in thought. Ravi walked over and sat beside her. Tell me everything, he said gently. I want to know. I need to understand. Alara took a deep breath. She looked down at her hands, then slowly began to speak. Her words were broken, but clear enough for Ravi to follow. My world is called Arthan, she began. Peaceful. We grow. We learn. No war. No weapons. Long ago, we made a promise to never fight. We explored stars, met other kinds, shared knowledge. Ravi listened closely. Her voice was soft, but filled with emotion. One day, a new power came. Ships in black sky. Cold metal. No kindness. Darnock. He was not like others. He wanted rule. He wanted to take. He came with army. No talk. Only fire. She paused for a moment. Her eyes were full of pain. We had no weapons. We had no walls. We trusted the stars. But Darnock did not come to learn. He came to burn. One by one, our cities fell. He broke the sky, turned water to smoke. Our people ran. Many lost. My family too. Ravi looked at her gently. I'm sorry, he said. Alara nodded. We had one hope. Long ago, old ones made. A door. A portal. It connects stars. It was hidden. Only a few knew. I was one. She touched her chest where a symbol glowed faintly. I used the door. Came here. To Earth. Your world. It was not the first time. Long ago, your people met ours. Quietly. They gave the key. Passed through generations. That key is yours now. She looked at the pendant in Ravi's hand. You are the last link. Blood of those who promised to protect. The keepers. Ravi held the pendant tightly. My grandfather gave this to me. Said it was special. I thought it was just a story. Alara shook her head. Not story. Truth. You are keeper now. He took a long breath. The pendant felt heavier now. Not in weight, but in meaning. A simple gift from childhood was now the key to something much greater. Something old, powerful, and deeply connected to the stars. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do, he said honestly. Alara reached into her bag and took out a small folded map. She placed it on the table and opened it. Glowing lines shaped the map of Ravi's region. One spot was marked in red near the mountains. There, she said, old place, hidden. Beacon of light, made by keepers. It sends message across stars. If we reach, others may come. help will come. Ravi nodded slowly. So we need to go there. Before the hunter finds us. She looked into his eyes. Yes, but danger grows. Hunter is close. They both went silent for a moment. Outside, the wind passed through the trees, and birds flew high in the sky. The world looked peaceful, but Ravi knew that peace would not last for long. He stood up. We should leave by tonight. The mountain path is long, and we'll need time. If that thing comes here again, it won't wait. Alara agreed. She stood as well, although her body still showed signs of pain. I will prepare, she said softly. Ravi quickly packed a small bag with food, water, and a blanket. He also added a flashlight, a compass, and a few tools. He gave Alara an extra coat to wear, and she wrapped herself in it, hiding her glowing skin as much as she could. By evening, they were ready. The sky turned orange, then purple. Clouds moved gently, and the stars began to appear. Ravi started his old motorcycle. It was noisy, but strong. Alara sat behind him, holding tightly. Her device stayed close to her chest. As they rode away from the village, Ravi looked back once. His small house stood still and quiet. He didn't know if he would return, but right now, that didn't matter. He had made a promise to help her, and he would keep it. The road curved through the hills. Forests became thinner, and rocky paths replaced them. The air grew colder. Alara leaned closer, her eyes watching the sky behind them. Suddenly, she shouted, "Stop!" Ravi hit the brakes. The motorcycle skidded to a stop on the gravel path. Alara jumped off and pointed to the sky. A small black shadow flew above them, moving fast. It made no sound now, but the way it moved was not natural. It was looking for something. It was hunting. It's here, Alara said. Ravi's jaw tightened. We'll have to move on foot. They parked the motorcycle near a large rock and began walking quickly through the forest trail. The path to the beacon was not far now, but they had to stay hidden. As they moved deeper into the woods, the night grew darker. But even in the silence, both of them knew something was coming. Something not from this world. Ravi and Alara moved through the forest, careful with every step. The sky above them was dark, covered in thick clouds. Only a few stars were visible, and even those seemed dim. The silence of the night was broken only by the sound of dry leaves under their feet and the distant call of an owl. Ravi held the pendant tightly in his hand. The cool metal felt warm now, as if it recognized the path he was walking. Alara walked beside him, her eyes scanning the sky again and again. The hunter was out there. She could feel it. How far is the beacon? Ravi asked softly. Alara looked at the glowing map in her hand. Not far. Maybe 1 hour. Through the cave in the hill. Ravi nodded. He remembered that place. An old cave hidden behind tall rocks. No one from the village went there anymore. It was silent, strange, and cold. Some said it was cursed. But now, he knew it was something else, something ancient. As they walked, Ravi's thoughts turned to his grandfather. The old man had raised him when he was a child. He used to tell stories about stars, protectors, and gates between worlds. Ravi had always smiled and listened, but never believed them. They were bedtime tales. Now, those stories were alive. Alara had come through one of those gates, and Ravi, somehow, was part of it. Did you know about Earth before you came? Ravi asked. Alara nodded. Yes, long ago, our people visited. Quiet visits, only to watch. Your people helped, gave shelter. They were kind. The keepers lived. Among you? Ravi looked at her. My grandfather. Was he one of them? Alara gave a small smile. Yes. He carried the light, passed it to you. The line was never broken. Ravi felt something heavy in his chest. Pride, fear, and confusion all at once. He remembered the day his grandfather gave him the pendant. You may not understand this now, the old man had said, but one day this will matter. Now, it mattered more than anything. Suddenly, Alara stopped. She raised her hand. Ravi froze. A low hum moved through the air, soft but strong. The ground beneath them vibrated for a moment. In the distance, a blue light flashed through the trees, then disappeared. It's searching, Alara whispered. It's close. They crouched low, hiding behind a large tree. Alara took out a small round mirror-like device from her pouch. She placed it on the ground. A faint dome of soft light formed round them, blending them with the forest. A shield? Ravi asked. Only for a short time, Alara replied. Then it breaks. The hum moved closer. Through the branches, Ravi saw the hunter dotted floated above the ground, black and sharp. With wings like blades and a glowing red center, it turned slowly, scanning the trees with a thin beam of light. Where the light touched, the trees shook. The machine looked alive, though it had no face. Ravi held his breath. The hunter hovered only a few meters away, then turned and moved in another direction. The sound faded. After a few more minutes, Alara stood. We must go now, before it returns. They moved quickly, almost running through the trees. The forest grew steeper, and large rocks appeared along the path. Finally, they reached the hill. At its base, hidden behind thick bushes, was the cave. Ravi pushed aside the branches. A cold wind came from inside the cave. Darkness waited beyond the entrance. Alara took out a small light and held it up. The walls of the cave were covered in symbols. They glowed faintly when the pendant came close. Ravi walked slowly inside. The cave was wide and tall, like a forgotten temple. The floor was smooth, not natural. It had been shaped long ago by hands not from Earth. This place, Ravi said, was never made by humans. Alara walked beside him. No, made by keepers, long before your time. They reached the center of the cave. A round platform stood in the middle, with a pillar rising from it. On top of the pillar was a bowl-shaped opening. Carved lines ran from the floor to the ceiling, like a path of light. Alara looked at Ravi. Place the key. Ravi stepped forward and placed the pendant into the bowl. Nothing happened at first. Then the pendant began to glow. The lines on the floor lit up, one by one. A deep sound echoed through the cave, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The light rose along the walls and up to the ceiling, where it gathered at a single point. A beam of light shot upward, through the rock, into the sky above. It started, Alara said. The beacon is awake. But before they could speak more, a loud crash shook the cave. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of metal striking stone echoed behind them. The hunter had arrived. It stood at the entrance of the cave, its red eye glowing brighter than before. Its body changed shape, long arms forming from its sides, sharp like blades. It let out a high sound, like a scream made of machines. Ravi moved in front of Alara. Go to the beacon, he said. I'll stop it. Alara pulled him back. No, together. The hunter charged. Its arms swung with speed. Cutting the air, Ravi grabbed the pendant again. It glowed brighter in his hand. Suddenly, a shield formed around him and Alara. The machine's blade hit the shield and bounced back. Ravi felt the heat in his hand. The pendant responded to him, to his thoughts, to his will. He stepped forward and raised his hand. A beam of light shot from the pendant, hitting the hunter's chest. The machine shook but did not fall. Alara took out her device and pressed several buttons. A second beam, thinner but sharper, hit the hunter's leg. The machine stumbled together. They moved forward. Ravi used the pendant to block the attacks. Alara used her tools to strike back. The cave lit up with flashes of light and sparks. Finally, after a strong hit to the hunter's center, the machine fell. It cracked, sparked, and then exploded into pieces. Silence returned. Ravi fell to his knees, breathing hard. Alara placed a hand on his shoulder. You are the keeper, she said. You have the light. Ravi looked at the broken machine. We're not safe yet, but we're not alone anymore. Outside, the sky was no longer dark. The light from the beacon rose high, shining across the stars. Help would come. The cave was quiet now. Only the sound of small stones falling could be heard. Broken pieces of the hunter's machine body lay across the floor. Sparks no longer flew. The red light in its center had faded. The danger was gone. But the memory of the fight stayed in Ravi's heart like a loud echo. Ravi sat on the cold ground, breathing slowly. His hand still held the glowing pendant, which was now dim again. He looked up at Alara, who was checking her device for damage. Her face showed both relief and worry. "Alara," Ravi said softly, "is it really over?" Alara shook her head. "This was only one hunter. There will be more. Darnak knows I'm here now. He will send more machines, maybe worse." Ravi nodded. He had feared that, but a bigger thought filled his mind. The beacon was working. It had sent a signal high into the sky, maybe even beyond their galaxy. "Do you think someone heard it?" he asked. Alara looked at the shining light above them. "Yes, if any of our old allies still live, they will hear. The light of the Keepers is strong. It calls to those who believe in peace." Ravi stood up and looked around the cave. The glowing lines on the floor still pulsed like a heartbeat. The place felt alive, as if the ancient Keepers were watching them. "We should leave this place," he said. "If more hunters are coming, we can't stay here." Alara agreed. She placed her tools back into her bag and checked the map again. "There's a safe path through the valley," she said. "Old tunnels. They lead to the southern side of the mountain. If we go there, we can stay hidden." They stepped out of the cave together. The night had passed, and morning light touched the hills with soft gold. Birds flew across the sky, unaware of the fight that had taken place beneath them. Ravi and Alara moved quickly through the forest. They returned to the large rock where Ravi had hidden the motorcycle. The machine was still there, silent and covered in dew. Ravi wiped the seat, started the engine, and handed Alara the helmet. They rode down a narrow dirt path, staying close to the tree line. The mountain air was fresh, but every sound made Ravi look back. He couldn't stop thinking about more hunters, more machines, more red eyes in the dark. After half an hour, the road split into two. One path led toward the village, the other toward the valley Alara had mentioned. "We won't go back to the village, right?" Ravi asked. Alara looked serious. "No, it's not safe. If hunters follow, the people may be hurt." Ravi's chest felt heavy. That village was his home. He knew every tree, every street, every neighbor. But he also knew she was right. Bringing danger there would be selfish. He turned the motorcycle toward the valley and sped up. The road became rough, full of rocks and narrow turns. Trees became taller, and the forest grew thicker. Soon, they reached the old tunnels Alara spoke of. Hidden behind wild bushes and broken stone, the entrance looked like part of the mountain. No one had used this path in years. They pushed the motorcycle inside and covered the entrance with leaves. Then they lit a small lantern and began walking through the dark tunnel. Inside, the air was cold. The walls were damp and water dripped from above, but Alara moved with confidence. Her map showed clear paths. The tunnels, she said, were made long ago by early travelers. Not only humans, but others who came to Earth in secret. Ravi listened. As she spoke more about the Keepers, they were not warriors, she explained. They were guardians of peace, protectors of knowledge. They did not rule. They only watched and helped when needed. When danger grew too strong, they built hidden places like the Beacon Cave and left keys to those they trusted. "Your people," she said, "were once close to the stars. You helped many, but then you forgot. Now, you remember again." Her words made Ravi think. Maybe humans had always looked to the stars for a reason. Maybe it was more than wonder, it was memory. After walking for 2 hours, they reached the end of the tunnel. A broken wall stood before them, but sunlight passed. Through the cracks, they pushed the stones aside and stepped out into a quiet valley. Green grass spread across the land, with small hills and clear streams. "We'll rest here for now," Ravi said. They found shelter under a wide tree. Alara used her device to scan the sky. Nothing strange appeared. Ravi sat on a flat rock and looked at the pendant again. "Why does it work with me?" he asked. "I don't feel special." Alara sat beside him. "The light of the Keepers is not in blood. It is in the heart. The pendant responds to kindness, to courage. Your heart was open when I came." "That is enough," Ravi smiled softly. He didn't feel like a hero, but her words gave him strength suddenly. The device in Alara's hand lit up and beeped. Her eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Ravi asked quickly. Alara pointed to the small screen. A red dot moved across it. "A new signal," she said. "Another ship, not Hunter. This one is bigger. It enters Earth's sky." Ravi stood. "Is it from Darnak?" Alara looked unsure. "I don't know yet. It could be help. Or it could be danger." They had no time to waste. Ravi picked up the lantern. "Then we follow it. If someone heard the beacon, they might be trying to reach us." Alara nodded. She scanned the map and pointed east. It landed near the old river plains. We could reach there by night. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Ravi and Alara began their journey again. The path ahead was full of mystery. A new ship had come. They did not know who it carried, friend or enemy. But they would find out. Together. And with every step, the light of the keepers walked with them. Ravi and Alara moved quickly through the soft grass of the valley. The sun was low now, casting long shadows across the hills and trees. The air smelled fresh and cool. Somewhere nearby, birds sang their evening songs, yet beneath this peaceful scene, Ravi's heart beat fast. They were close to the place Alara had called the beacon, the ancient place where hope still lived. They reached the edge of a small forest. Behind the trees, hidden by vines and moss, was the entrance to another cave. Alara pointed at it and said, "This is the place. The beacon waits inside." Ravi looked at the dark opening. It seemed quiet, but he felt the weight of history around it. Slowly, they stepped inside. The cave was cool and damp. Small crystals sparkled faintly on the walls, and water dripped softly from the ceiling. They walked carefully, the sound of their footsteps echoing in the still air. After a few minutes, the tunnel opened into a large chamber. In the center was a tall stone structure covered with ancient symbols. The pillar glowed faintly, as if waiting for something to happen. Alara took the pendant from Ravi's hand. "Place this here," she said, pointing to a shallow bowl carved into the top of the pillar. Ravi stepped forward and set the pendant into the bowl. Nothing happened at first. Then a soft hum filled the room. The symbols on the pillar began to glow brighter, one by one. Light moved up the stone like a river. Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the top of the pillar and broke through the cave ceiling. It spread upward, reaching far into the sky, cutting through clouds and stars. Alara smiled. "The beacon is awake." Ravi felt a warm glow in his chest. He looked around the chamber and saw more symbols on the walls. Some were like the ones on his pendant. Others showed scenes of stars, ships, and strange creatures. Alara said, "The keepers build this to call for help when danger is near. It sends a signal across many worlds." Ravi nodded slowly. "And now it has sent that call." Suddenly, a sound broke the calm. It was a loud crash near the cave entrance. Dust fell from above. The hunter had returned. Ravi and Alara turned just as the machine floated inside the chamber. Its red eye glowed fiercely. The hunter's body shifted and changed. Long, sharp arms extended from its sides. It made a strange sound, like a warning. Alara reached for her device and pressed several buttons. "We must defend the beacon." Ravi held the pendant tightly. The light in his hand grew stronger. A shield of pure energy formed round them, glowing with soft blue light. The hunter charged. It swung its blades, but the shield blocked every attack. Sparks flew as the machine struck the energy wall again and again. Ravi focused on the pendant. He thought about protecting Alara, protecting Earth, and protecting the hope that the beacon represented. The light in the room grew brighter. Suddenly, a beam shot from the pendant. It hit the hunter's chest. The machine shuddered but did not stop. Alara fired a sharp pulse from her device, striking the hunter's legs. It stumbled, then fell to the ground with a heavy crash. Ravi and Alara moved forward. Together, they pressed the beacon controls. The light from the pillar grew until it filled the chamber. The hunter tried to rise but was too damaged. It sparked and finally stopped moving. Ravi felt exhausted. His hands trembled, but the pendant still glowed. Softly, Alara smiled at him with tears in her eyes. "You have done well," she said. "You are truly the keeper." Ravi shook his head. I was just a man before this. Now, I feel different. Alara placed her hand on his arm. The light was always inside you. The pendant only showed it outside the cave. The sky was alive with stars. From far away, new lights appeared. Ships moved through the dark sky. The beacon's call had been answered. Ravi and Alara watched in silence as the new ships came closer. Help had arrived. The fight was not over, but now they were not alone. The future was full of hope. The sky was clear and filled with stars when Ravi and Alara stepped outside the cave. The air was cool and fresh after the rain that had passed during the night. The glow from the beacon behind them still lit the cave entrance softly. It was a quiet moment, but the feeling between them was strong. They had survived much together. But the journey was just beginning. In the distance, a soft light appeared. It grew brighter and closer. Soon, several ships came into view. Their shapes were strange and beautiful. They moved slowly and carefully, like they carried something precious. Ravi watched in awe as the ships landed gently on the ground near the cave. From the largest ship, figures began to step out. They were tall and graceful. Their skin shone with soft colors, and their eyes held kindness and wisdom. Ravi felt a calm strength in their presence. Alara smiled and took a step forward. "Friends," she said softly. One of the figures, a tall woman with silver hair and a warm voice, spoke to Alara in their language. Alara answered back, and then she turned to Ravi. "They are the Guardians," she explained. "They come to help us fight Darnak and protect your world." Ravi felt hope grow inside him. For so long, he had felt small and powerless. Now, he stood among beings from another world who wanted peace, who wanted to protect Earth. The Guardians spoke in gentle voices. They asked many questions about Earth, its people, and the dangers from the hunters. Ravi answered as best as he could, telling them about the village, the forests, and the quiet life he led. One Guardian placed a hand on Ravi's shoulder. "You carry the light of the Keepers," she said. "That light will guide us." Alara joined the Guardians. Together, they prepared for what was coming. They knew Darnak would not give up easily. His army was large and strong, but the Keepers and Guardians had something more powerful: the will to protect and the strength of hope. Ravi looked at the sky. The stars seemed brighter than before, like they were watching and waiting. Days passed. The Guardians helped repair the beacon and strengthen its signal. They shared knowledge with Ravi and Alara. They taught them how to use the pendant's power and how to prepare for the battle ahead. Ravi felt himself growing stronger. The fear that had once filled him was replaced by courage. He was no longer just a man from a small village. He was a keeper, a protector of light and hope. One evening, as the sun set, Ravi stood outside the cave, watching the sky. Alara joined him, her eyes shining softly. "We will win," she said, "because we fight not for power, but for peace." Ravi smiled. "And because we have each other together." They looked up at the stars, ready to face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but filled with light.